Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and host of this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today I have with me Lefteris Koutinas, and he goes by Lefty. So, hey, Lefty.
Hey, how are you doing?
I am great. So excited to have you on here. And just so people know you, I'm going to go ahead and read your bio and then we'll get into your story.
Let's do it.
So, Lefty's journey into the realm of true stories was sparked by a childhood fascination with the film Goodfellas. It's not just about capturing moments, it's about etching a lasting legacy, not only for himself, but for every entrepreneur he partners with. Drawing inspiration from the groundbreaking production studio A24, Lefty embraces a style that's as distinctive as it is bold. He's clear about one thing: he's not here to cater to everyone. His focus: helping entrepreneurs transform into industry celebrities, boosting not just their businesses, but their personal brands. His mantra is simple yet profound: I don't care about your sales, I care about your image. A philosophy rooted in wisdom passed down from his grandfather, who believed that being beloved by the people ensures you'll never be out of work. With an ambitious goal to tell 1,000 stories, Lefty is on a mission to become a household name. Whether you're drive, diving into his documentaries or binging his film adaptations, he aims to leave you educated, entertained, and above all, inspired. He was born into a family of entrepreneurs who dominated radio and television for 40 years between 1970 and the early 2000s. When he started high school in the early 2000s, he didn't want to follow in his family's footsteps, and that's when he fell in love with music and became a DJ. In his early years, he started to tour between US, Europe, and Canada. We all know the music industry can be a dark place, and he found himself in the trap of the darkness, but he knew he needed to get out. In his early 30s, he met his wife, threw himself a retirement party from the music industry where he performed a 13-hour set and said goodbye to that life. A year later, he decided to pick up his first camera, and at the last 7 years, he has been focused on helping entrepreneurs tell their stories and building their personal brands. All right, I want to hear all about your story. So tell us about you.
Well, I mean, that's how it started, born into a family of entrepreneurs. They very well indeed dominate radio and television for like 40-ish years. It was a great time. I was born in 86, so kind of being in the rise of all that was really really cool and interesting. And um yeah, like just kind of like how you mentioned it, right? I didn't want to follow in that footstep. I didn't want to I just didn't want to get into that radio and television life, right? It wasn't really for me. I was getting into high school at the time. I was more concerned about thinking about like how I was going to be cool and popular and make a lot of friends, right? I wasn't thinking about radio and television. And realistically, it's you were kind of like some form of like a nerd or a geek, for example, if you were in kind of like the creative space like in the 90s and 80s. So it wasn't really something that was like that like stood out to people. Now you say, oh, I'm a filmmaker, I'm an editor, I'm a this, I'm a that, and like you are the cool kid, right? But it wasn't exactly like that back in the day. And that's kind of how I got into music. But I don't know, based on the demographic that listens to this show, um, I I was like born or I was on the come up in my early teenage years when Napster and LimeWire and all these softwares for pirating music came out, right? And the cool thing about Napster and all these other programs was the fact that you weren't just getting music that was like top 40 radio hits. You were able to open up your world to different genres and so much different music from like all over the world. As long as the library, as long as it was on there, you could find it. Um, and at that time, I really fell in love with techno music, right? I don't know if it was like the repetitiveness, the repetitiveness. I don't know if it was um the the synthesized beats or piano melodies. Something about it just really, I just got pulled in, right? I got pulled in, and almost immediately I was like, I need to know. I want to get every single song I can possibly find. I want to I want to make it. I want to remix it. I want to DJ it. I want to do anything I can do with techno music. And I guess that's how my DJ career started, right? I'm never like a surface level type of guy, and I think that's where my career in music also kind of took off for the time that it did, because you would go to a website, you see all the brand new top 40 hits, and you're just like, okay, cool, download, 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 download. You put it in the cart, you buy it, you're done. I was the person that would sit for hours on these platforms because I wanted to make sure that when I found music, you didn't have it, right? Um, for the vinyl junkies, we would call them crate diggers, right? You're a crate digger. You would go to HMV or Sam the Record Man or any of these record stores, and you would just siphon through records for hours to find something that nobody would have. That was me. That was me. So that kind of brought me to creating my name in the music industry. I'm not going to say like I was some like A-list celebrity. Like the DJ name and the persona that I created was no, Steve Aoki or Tiesto or any of those type of names that we know today. But I was known within my industry. And you know like we all know, the music industry does come with its, dark side, right? You dabble into things that you thought you would never dabble into. And, at some point it became problematic. It became, not problematic to the point where like I needed like severe help, but I knew that I needed self-help, right? I was like, whoa, what's happening? Why is this happening to me? Um, and I just knew that I needed to get out. Luckily, at the time that I found out that or not found out, but the time that I realized I needed to get out was also the time that I met my girlfriend at the time, who's my wife. And I just knew that I wanted to be home more, right? I didn't want to, you know, perform as much anymore. I didn't want to be coming home at like 6 a.m., 10 a.m., sometimes even like 1 p.m. It was crazy. Yeah, it was quite wild. Um, so yeah, I just knew that I wanted to be home more. I wanted to be with my wife more. I wanted to be with this, potential new family that I was about to, uh, have. And I just threw myself that retirement party, right? I have a friend in the Greek town of Toronto who owns a small bar, and they have a back room which they allowed me to kind of like rent out for the day. And you know, they knew that I was going to bring in a crowd, right? So uh, to them, it was like they gave me the spot on the house. They knew that they were going to make up for it in bar sales, and which was really, really great to be able to know that I had that kind of credibility where, you can give me a venue for free because I'm going to stock, I'm going to kind of like wash out your bar, right? Um, and yeah, so I did a 13-hour set. I did not take any breaks. I did it straight. I probably danced so much in that 13 hours that I didn't even have to go to the washroom. I just sweat it all out, right? And it was funny because like the drinks were also on rotation during that time too. I'm not a big drinker anymore. I mean, I probably maybe have like a drink like a month, if that nowadays. Uh, and yeah, did that, left, and I kind of sat back with my wife after, and I was like, I've always been a creative person. I need to do something. I need to like still fill this. I can't have a void. I have to fill it, right? And during that time, we were also getting married and we were looking for vendors for our wedding and whatnot. And I just happened to, stumble across like, well, not stumble across, but when I was hiring my photographer and my videographer, I built a relationship with them where I was kind of like, hey, if I wanted to like get into photography, like how would that look?
Mhm.
And they pretty much turned around and was like, hey, like Sony's about to come out with a brand new camera. It's definitely above your skill level because they assumed that I had none, which they were right. But they're like, it's definitely above your skill level. It might be a bit of a learning curve, but at least you're going to get into the game with the people that have been in the game already, right? So when you do learn that camera, you're going to have an even playing field. Like you're not going to feel lesser than, right?
Mhm.
So, okay, I was like, cool. It didn't really give me much time to prepare because at the time this camera was coming out, maybe like, oh, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months after having this conversation. So I really had to dive in, do my research, figure out if I was even gonna like want this and like this. Um, and then yeah, one day I just, my mom actually oversaw that I was like doing all this like research, and she was honestly sweet enough to kind of kickstart my career because she bought me that camera as a wedding gift.
Nice.
Yeah, she was like, you know what? Uh, go, like go find the store that you want to buy it. If it's downtown, we can meet up on my lunch break, and I'll just come down to the store with you and just pay for it. And I was like, wow, are you sure? Like this isn't cheap, right? And she was like, no, 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 like I'm gonna do it. It's fine. And just for context, like if people are thinking about kind of like stepping up their own game, um this was like a $4,000 purchase, right? And we're talking like lens, SD cards, like because it's not just the camera that you buy, right? And now we're talking also 8 years ago. So I mean, prices are roughly the same, or if not more expensive now. But yeah, like I was just so thankful for that moment because she was able to kind of kickstart that career for me. And it also didn't come out of the blue because, people listening right now might be like, well, how the hell do you become a photographer after being a DJ, right? Um, the more popular I became as a DJ, and also being on the rise of social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram, even prior to that, any musician, in order to get booked, you would need what's called a press kit or some sort of media kit, which is like your bio, some pictures that they can use for flyers and posters, and of course a discography if you are either making your own music, which I was at the time, or you would at least have your best 1 hour DJ sets on there that the promoters can listen to. Um, so yeah, I was all for getting photos taken of myself professionally, getting videos of me while I was on my tours and on my shows. There was not one. I was always a kind of like a documentarian, right? Like I love being in the spotlight, and I also love wanting to allow people that are giving their attention to me. I want them to feel like they're a part of my world, right? Um, so that's why I did it. That's why I felt it was very important to just film and take photos of everything. I was actually on like a photo shoot and a video shoot probably 2, 3 times a month. And yeah, so I guess what ended up happening is, like, as photographers and videographers are there to shine a light on you in a way that you probably don't see yourself.
Mhm.
And when I was getting my materials and my content back, I was just like, I always like knew that feeling. I was like, oh my God, like you make me look so cool, right? You make me look so cool, like holy moly. And yeah, just at that point, I just wanted to be able to do that for other people,
Mm.
right? That was my that was my why in a sense, right? My why was to make sure that I can have people leave a photo shoot or a video shoot and make them have that that's me moment, like wow, I look like that, right? um and then yeah, and then then obviously, now let's fast forward and I have to make money. Okay, I just have this brand new camera. Somehow I got to make money. I was always like a firm believer of like charging for my time, even if I wasn't going to charge for the skill. So I turned around and I just started asking people like, "Hey, I'm new to the game. I'm not asking for anything, but I am looking for at least $100 to cover myself for the day, right? If
Mhm.
I gotta hop on a subway, I gotta take a taxi or an Uber, I need to have lunch, like I need to pay for parking if I'm driving. That's what that $100 is covering, right? And never had an issue, never had a complaint, never, no, nobody was like, no, I'm not going to do that for you. And then I came across this like awesome individual who was like, hey, I'm looking for LinkedIn headshots, but I kind of want to do them more editorial. I don't want to just have like the white passport looking backdrop, right?
Mhm.
um and then yeah, I did that, and then all of a sudden this is where things got interesting, because all of a sudden, one morning, I wake up and my Instagram inbox is flooded, flooded with DMs, and it's not what you think. So I start looking, I open it up and I start looking through, and it's asking me if I can shoot swimwear. It's asking me if I can shoot boudoir, if I can shoot nudes, if I can shoot implied nudes, if I can do bodyscapes, if all these types. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, um, where did this come from? Because I've never, inquired to do any of this type of work. Um, so I'm looking through this, and I'm in a dilemma. I'm kind of like in a dilemma right now, because on one hand, I can say no, I don't want to do this type of work, and lose probably, I think it was like 15 clients, right? Or I can say, screw it, you know, I might actually like this work, and now I've literally just built a photography business overnight, right? And I just started replying like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, sure, no problem. Yeah, yeah, yeah. In my head, I'm thinking like, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. So, obviously, again, like, I got to get back to the research: swimwear photography, boudoir photography, lingerie photography. And I'm just like, and I just start taking notes. Okay, this is how you pose these girls. This is that,
Mhm.
right? Awesome. Perfect. I created some sort of like Pinterest board for myself, and
Mhm.
I just use that as a guideline on all my photo shoots, right? Now, I I remember asking one of the people, how did you find me? How did you hear about me? And they ended up turning around and saying, oh, it was from this person. And unfortunately, it's so long ago that I don't remember her name. But it was the same girl that hired me for the LinkedIn headshots.
Mhm.
And I had to DM her, and I was like, hey, um, I'm really glad that you liked your photos. I'm really happy that you liked them enough to share my name with the world. But I gotta ask, why was I getting all these? inquiries for like lingerie and boudoir and nudes and yada 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 yada, because that's not what we shot. So it
Mhm.
was a little like out of left field, right? And and she turns to me and she goes, she starts laughing first. And she goes, "Oh man," she goes, "I was trying to keep it a secret, but I guess the cat's out of the bag." And I go, "Okay." And that's when she told me that by night she strips. So I was like, okay, now this makes sense. I go, what? I go, this makes sense. I go, wow, you girls are really like a union, eh? Like when one hears about it, the whole village hears about it. Uh, but you know what? I'm not gonna, even though I don't do that kind of work anymore, it really it taught me a lot. I give a lot of credit and I give a lot of respect for that type of work, because it taught me patience, it taught me trust, it taught me understanding, um, it taught me at depending on the situation, it taught me sympathy, and more importantly, it just taught me how to work with women, right? And I think that was like the most, those lessons were the most beautiful lessons I could have ever learned. And funny enough, once I decided to stop pursuing that, and I took my film career a little bit more seriously, till this day 95 to 99% of my clients are still women.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of where we're at right now. Oh, and I mean, if anybody's wondering why I left that, why I left that line of work. And I mean, yeah, okay, sure. There was obviously perks like, oh, Lefty always gets to work with beautiful women and blah 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 and whatever. At the end of the day, it's like I kind of sat down to myself, and for starters, do I still want to be the guy shooting 20-year-old models in their underwear when I'm 60? No. And if I ever wanted to be taken seriously, like if Coca-Cola or Apple or any of these big companies were to want to hire me, and it was hiring me based on portfolio, if they saw my work, would I get hired? Again, the answer is no. Now, maybe if Coca-Cola was to be like, hey, we're trying to revive our 1930s pinup girl ads, you get the job 100%. But I don't see them doing that. So I just kind of wanted to commercialize my own work. And I felt that I was at a point in my life in which, um, I guess I was able to teach what I knew, and then I made that shift and pivot to YouTube, which then allowed me to teach, but I also fell in love with the video. I fell in love with film. And then at that point, I was like, I don't even want to touch photos anymore. Screw photos. That's like so early 2000s. And then yeah, and then that's where I am. That's where I am again. That's where I am here now. And I'm always somebody that like I will just become obsessed with everything that I do. And the moment I got into video, and that journey started 7 years ago, I just became obsessed of figuring out and finding out what I like, what I don't like, what I want to be, who I want to be. And I mean, it's obviously going to be an ongoing learning process. Um, but yeah, it's just been an ever evolving skill that I'm so happy to have in my life.
Wow. What a story. Thanks for
Yeah,
telling
yeah.
it. So, just going back to even, high school, you're always
Mm,
your own man, if you will. You always following your heart.
yes.
So if you were going to talk to someone in that situation now, they're in high school, middle school, coming up into college, what would be your best advice for that younger set of people?
Yeah, you know what? I have I have a different look or outlook on this question, and it's a fantastic question. Um, Realistically, because I believe that, um, God places us where we need to be at that exact moment. Really, my advice to that person is you are exactly where you need to be right at this moment, and don't change it. Enjoy it, embrace it. um don't don't feel like, just because you're doom scrolling on social media and you see people that might be more successful than you, like, just ignore the buzz. Like, something great is going to happen to you, and you just got to let, you know God do what he does best, essentially.
Yeah, that's really great advice. So,
Yeah.
um, so you're in this music industry, you meet your wife. So she must be a fantastic woman because you were in this music, but you wanted to be a better man. So you're like, okay, I'm going out of music. I'm going to the higher road. I want to spend time with this beautiful woman. So how did you meet her and tell me a little bit about her?
Oh man, well, it's funny because, again, this, like, I'm always a firm believer of investing in myself, right? Like, nobody's gonna invest in you unless you invest in yourself first, right? It kind of goes back to, like, um the old age, like, statement of, you need to love yourself before somebody else can love you, essentially, right? Um and yeah, we met online. Again, I was kind of like doom scrolling on those, like, dating apps and whatnot, and then it just happened that, you know one of their ads popped up where it was like, hey, you can get better matches if you just pay $20 a month subscription or whatever, and your profile is going to be at the top of everybody's charts and blah 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 blah, right? um and at the time, I was like, okay, whatever, it's $20. Like, I I have it for 30 days. If nothing happens, I just cancel. Whatever. I'm out $20. Big deal. And I ended up running into my wife's profile, like, within 48 hours of me making that investment. Um and yeah, like, we just always had, like a playful vibe about us, and we always were just kind of like trying to find, like, cute and quirky ways of just, like, um being cute and affectionate with each other and whatnot. And yeah, she's definitely a strong woman. She's definitely strong, open-minded. It's it's obviously rare to find somebody who would be okay with me um being around the amount of women that I was, especially that, 100% of the time it was always behind closed doors also. You have to have a really strong personality and a lot of trust in somebody to allow that to happen. um but at the end of the day, for me, it was always work, it was always professional. I just really enjoyed, like, what I was doing, and just making people, like, look and feel awesome.
Mhm,
um and yeah, like, like every marriage and relationship, we grow. Sometimes we grow out of things, and sometimes that could um lead to conflict, but it's just how you deal with that conflict of, you know getting back to each other, right? I think more importantly, it's, the love and care that we have for each other um, outweighs any con, right? And I think it would be crazy to say that if we didn't grow as individuals, then we're just not being our true selves, right? If she was going to be the same person that she was um, at 50 when she was at 30, I would kind of be like, hey, what's your problem? Like,
mhm,
why haven't you grown? Right? So I guess I guess like any relationship, I mean, well, I guess I said conflict, but it's more so growing pains,
Mhm,
right? But the growing pains are equally as beautiful as they are difficult.
mhm.
But I know that there's nothing that my wife and I can't conquer. She's in the online space as well. She has an online business also. And I'm actually helping her out more now on her journey of becoming a successful online business owner, and kind of selflessly putting myself on the back burner for the remainder of the year to so she can have her dream.
Wonderful. Well, tell me about your filmmaking. What you've been doing, after you went out of music and you went into photography, but now you're doing filmmaking and you're doing it for entrepreneurs. You're
Yeah.
making them into celebrities through their stories. So tell me about that. How do you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, before I got into, I mean, film is film, but before I actually came to that realization that I needed to go 100% into film, um, I was in the commercial space, advertisement and all that. And for a lot of online business owners who, have funnels or landing pages, uh, you would probably want what's known as a video sales letter on your landing page. Um, Now look, I'm all for helping people make money, um, 100%. But there came a time in 2021 where there was like the rise of video, where everybody looked at video as, oh, if you have a video, that means automatic sales. Well, guess what? The truth is, that's not the truth. That is as far from a lie as possible. Okay? Because the there's so much more that you need to go through in order to make that sale happen. Now, for those of you that know what a video sales letter is, and those of you that don't, the main objective of the video sales letter is to persuade the person watching to take the next step, buy a product, book a call, follow your Instagram, your YouTube, whatever your call to action is. So in hindsight, if the call to action was made, I did my job, right? But there were a lot of people that, or at least I would say a handful of people at the time that were like, I didn't make a sale, so your video sucked. And I go, okay, well, what's your sales process like? Do you have any, like, what is your sales experience like? Do you even know how to close? Like, what happened after they booked a call? Did you follow up with them? Did you, like, there's so many other steps, but no, it was my fault that they didn't close. And and that's where the mantra came of like, I don't care about your sales, or I'm not responsible for your sales,
Mhm.
right? You are responsible for your sales. I'm responsible to help you get people so you can make sales. Just a tool in the toolbox. But when I was in that industry or when I was creating those videos, I almost felt like my role as a filmmaker just kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. And I almost started feeling a little insignificant, right? Um, until I ended up working with with a great entrepreneur, Robert J. Moore, and he was like, I want to film a documentary. Um, it was more of like an autobiography, but he goes, I want to film a documentary. And I go, okay, cool. Let's do it. And he just opened up this world to me. um well, not really opened up the world, but opened up my thinking process to be like, oh wow, like, this guy just wants a film. He's not once holding me accountable for anything. He's he's holding himself accountable to the result of his film. Um, we're winning awards, which I haven't won awards up until that point. Um, we're getting press releases done. We even had a movie theater release. And I was like, this, this is what I needed to have all along, right? Or it's like this is what I knew I was trying to work towards. I just didn't know how to go about it. And from that day forth, I was like, I am never touching a video sales letter ever again. I am I am going I'm going full throttle into documentaries, into short films, into all this jazz. Um, and then when it came to the film adaptations based on true stories, I mean, we have based on true story films all the time, right? It's not new. But if we wanted to take it from uh, an entrepreneur's uh, standpoint, you know, The Wolf of Wall Street comes to mind, right? The Wolf of Wall Street is based on Jordan Belfort, who is a high level entrepreneur and coach as well.
Mhm.
And I just kind of thought about that and I go, wow, like if Jordan can have a film, so can other coaches,
Mhm.
right? And it doesn't have to be a documentary. It doesn't have to be, you know, you sitting in front of a camera in a gorgeous backdrop, just talking about your story, right? We can hire actors, we can get locations, we can do everything that a film requires to make. And I got the opportunity to do that with another coach and mentor of mine. Um, and I don't know if he really knew how to advertise and market it because um, that also kind of just like strictly fell on my hands. And I feel like it would have gone 10 times further if he had that like marketing thought process on how to do it. And he's a pretty high level entrepreneur and coach as well. So it's not like he was someone fresh, brand new, doesn't have any understanding. Um, but yeah, I just, once I started getting into that, I was like, stories are so powerful and they are evergreen and organic. Like you don't have to fight an algorithm when it comes to telling your story, right? That's like it is your business card. When people turn to me and say, well, I don't understand how I'm going to make my money back, it's, I always like to say, because, a coach is more or less, they can't think past 90 days, most of them, right? It's they're built to be taught instant gratification,
Mhm.
right? And if you think about it, you're going to continuously tell your story throughout the years. So it's not really a matter of like, how much are you going to make in 30 days? How much do you think you can make in 30 years? Right? That is now the space, the headspace that you have to be in. Because if you network, you go out to events, you do this, you do that, you talk to 50 to 100 people a day, if you're constantly leading those conversations with your film,
Mhm.
it's it's inevitable that people are like, no one's going to turn around to you and be like, wow, you know what, that story sucked, thanks but no thanks. Right? They're going to be like, oh wow, cool, like I that was like a really interesting take on your story and blah 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 blah. How can we chat further, right? The people that just don't watch it, and you probably don't want to work with those people anyways. If they can't give you 10 minutes of their life, you shouldn't be giving them 10 years of yours, right? So that's just what it is. Like it is the greatest business card you will ever own in your life, period. And if you can't see what that return on investment is right now, that's okay. but it is a money-making machine.
I love that. That is so exciting. It is just so exciting. And
Yeah,
who doesn't want their stories up? I mean, even if it was just for your family, think about that.
exactly.
Wouldn't you like your great grandkids be able to see you and hear from your mouth, your perspective?
Yeah. And you know, I touched base on that in one of my last YouTube videos called Your Business Will Fail Without Your Story. And pretty much I touched base on that. And the whole premise of the video is like, did we all just forget about fun? Like do we remember the word fun, right? Like when did we become a society that everything that we do has to revolve around what we get back, right? Why is it so difficult to just want to invest in a film just for the sake of investing in a film because that's just something that you want to do. That's something that's cool. That's something that you just want to have in the pipeline. And something that I say in the video as well is who cares what you do with it? Like, who cares if it just lives in a dusty hard drive in one of your desk drawers? Like, just do it to do it. You know what I mean? And I touched base on that too. Like your kids, your grandkids, your great grandkids, like family. You know, what is the first thing that happens when somebody passes? They rush to a photo, they rush to a video, they rush to a voicemail, a voice note, you know, even if it's not from an entrepreneurial standpoint and it's not for you to make money, or even if you do make money from it in the meantime and in the process, like, why would you not just do it for your family to be like, yeah, here is this person's journey and
Mhm.
what they went through and now at any moment when they pass I can watch this film over and over and over and over and over again, right? People people just are losing they're losing the concept of the bigger picture. and and I honestly think that's sad. And I applaud the ones that just I applaud the ones that get it. Like the ones that get it just get it. And like, you know, props, dabs, like high five, whatever generation you're in, you know. Like I applaud you guys for just understanding. And it's primarily, you know, uh the Gen Xers and more, right? Like like those are the people that understand.
Mhm. Yeah, so cool. And as you were talking about that, I know I lost my grandmother oh gosh, maybe 4 years ago. And I still have a voicemail from her that I save. I save and I listen to it sometimes because I miss my grandmother and I want to hear from her. I want to hear her. And
Yeah,
just think about a film, you can see them, you can hear them. I think it's amazing.
yeah, it is. It is. And I mean, I'm not I don't discourage the people who want to create just for the sake of making money back, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But you have to have that. You have to have like an outside of the box thinking. You have to you have to kind of turn around at some point and say like, well, who else could this be for? Right? Because it doesn't just have to be for my audience, you know? And I had this conversation with another awesome um entrepreneur as well, who I'm going to be working with this fall. And you know, she she caught me because like I saw her profile. I was like I was like, oh, cool. It's the it's a, you know, super blonde chick, like tattoos up to her neck. This is not somebody that you typically see in the entrepreneur space as as a woman. And I was just like, okay, I got to click this profile to see what's up. And the first thing that was on her page was this like mini business documentary that was like shot in high quality, not the highest quality, but high quality. There was definitely some production value behind it.
Mhm.
And I was just I was gravitated to her much more than I would have by just seeing some random profile, all from that video, because we're constantly like we're constantly becoming numb to uh iPhone video. Like we have everybody has a camera in their pocket. And then when you finally see something that is of like high production quality, it it breaks the cycle, right? And the words that I used exactly was like, you pattern interrupted me without even doing it on purpose,
Mhm.
just because of the quality of the film. And she was like, holy shit, I never really thought of that. And I was like, yeah. And imagine like how many other people feel like me, you know? And she was like, wow, Lefty, thank you so much for like telling me that. That's like really, really cool that you thought that way.
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, man, like you're gonna go places.
Awesome. So if people wanted to work with you, how do they find you? Do you have a website or social media? Where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, so first and foremost, if you were just ready to have a conversation and chat, you can go to my landing page, which is yourlegacyfilmmaker.com. There is you can find out a lot of information. I have a bunch of, FAQs up there as well, that kind of go through everything of like I go deeper than the basics. Um, that's where you can kind of, submit a pre-approval application. And other than that, my YouTube channel is at Your Legacy Filmmaker. My Instagram is at Your Legacy Filmmaker. And then for Facebook, feel free to join my Facebook group. It is called Legacy Leaders. And I also have, for people that want to, dive into their stories and start to learn how to do a little bit more story driven content, but just don't have, you know, all the big bucks in the world to kind of get into that high quality production space. On my YouTube channel, I did just start a membership area called the Legacy Leaders VIP Lounge. It is $14 Canadian. So for those of you in the US, that's a big score for you guys. And I pretty much just I'm going to be dropping a bunch of thought-provoking prompts, thought leadership prompts, and just asking the deep, dirty in the weeds type questions that you can use to start creating content, whether it be a store, a post, a carousel, a video reel, whatever. You can use it to your discretion. But that membership, I'm going to be giving that out. I'm going to be giving out a new pack every single month starting in September. I'm working on everything right now, but if you guys feel like joining before that, come in, say hello, join, chat. I always do my best to kind of, keep people up to date. And it's going to be really awesome to see what people create and also have me at your disposal to ask questions to make things better for you guys.
Sounds awesome. Well, now I have a personal question. What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
This is so funny. Wrestling and video games. I am a huge wrestling fan. I've been a huge wrestling fan since the Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant days, and yeah, I still love my odd video game here and there. You know, I play games that I don't have to be super invested in, that I can just pick up for maybe 15, 20 minutes at a time just to take my mind away from like editing or whatever the case I'm doing. But yeah, that right now, that right now gives me the most happiness. And obviously just doing my best to stay away from social media as much as I possibly can so I can just go back to enjoying life.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and for your
Thank you for
story.
having me.
Great.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot. But thank you for having me.
Yes, I have one last question before we finish.
Sure.
What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
Mm, just do what you love. Like, just do what you love. If you like, if something calls out to you or something speaks to you at the time, like just do it. Like you will either be rewarded for it at that moment, or the reward might come later. But at the end of the day, it's like, you know, life is too short. Anything can happen to any of us, like right now. Literally anything can happen right this very moment. Um, and I know that we're not supposed to like live for this world. We're supposed to live for the world upstairs.
Mm.
But at the end of the day, it's like as long as you are, you know, keeping your faith at the forefront of everything that you do, whether you're a believer or not, if you are, just letting God take control, just have fun, just enjoy yourself, be a good person, don't be sinful, and just that's it. Like don't if you need to go on that vacation, but you still have a couple bills that you got to worry about, just go on that vacation. The bills will take care of themselves. If you need to, purchase something, just purchase it if that's what needs to happen. If you need to, you know, get off social media for a month just to find yourself again, do it. Do whatever makes you happy in the way that can make you the best human being possible.
Love it. Thank you so much, Lefty.
You're welcome.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Have a good one.